Try something new. I do think, Gillian, you need to be sitting a little further in, only because we have no space at all. And you need to turn your chair because the lovely Gillian is trying to sit. Let go. Wait. If you sit. The problem with having so much stuff. Right. If you do that and you sit this way, then we can rotate you as we go. If you pop your bum this way.
Oh, right, yeah.
See, and then you can hold it there. So the lovely Gillian is going to do this with me. Thank you, Gillian. Much against her will. Now, Gillian, we're going to try and hold it over there. You've got to rest there for your hand. Now, you see where you put your hands in the way? That doesn't work. Got it? Fingers in the way. Perfect. Now your fingers in the way again.
Where's the camera here?
Yes. So, have you got it?
Yeah.
Try not to bounce. If we need to expand, you do that. If you need to do that, there.
Okay.
Training on the job. Right, so can you see my face, not my tummy? Up a little bit. No one looks good from that angle. Perfect. Can you see me? Gillian.
I can see you, yeah.
Well, you're the one who's pre-recording. So we're doing the Tilda quilt. We have seen the finished products. Oh, I can't get Gillian out. I'm hindering. We have finished the Tilda quilt. And it looks amazing. It looks so good. So we've spoken about this. This is what we're making. This is how we're going. That is what we're doing. It's a very heavy quilt. So what we are doing today, odd socks and all, we are going to now do the cutting. Now, every one of you who has seen this plan has thought, oh my God, this is too much, this is too much, this is too much. I'm going to show you my tricks on how I think it will go a lot quicker and easier for you. And I'm going to show you a few little tricks you may or may not already know. So we're going to jump around a little bit, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to page 6 of the pattern. Now, if you haven't got the pattern is available on tildaworld.com. If you look under the solid section, you will then see this gorgeous pattern here. Loads of other patterns as well, but this pattern is breathtaking. Now, the pattern is really easy to do. You can see you've got a grid system here. We are using Fleezelina Quilter's Grid, and in order to do the Quilter's Grid, I'll show you the trick. So over here on this top section here, you don't need to cut out 6 million squares. You can actually just cut out a giant big rectangle to be able to make the quilt fit into that section. Because we're using the Quilter's Grid, what will happen is that because you're stitching down the lines, it'll appear as though you've cut out 1,164 squares. 1,164, really? So we're going to try this, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to do. I'm not going to cut everything out because, you know what, you've got more important things to do in your day and your life to do than that. So we're going to go and I'm going to show you how to do this. So going back a step, you are back onto page 5. Now on page 5, I'm hoping you can focus on all of those. Can you see the numbers there?
Yeah.
You have got a count of how many squares you need out of each one. So what we're going to do to start with is I'm going to cut out for block 1. So if you count down, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 uninterrupted rows where you don't have any colour. So I can cut down 10 inches. The reason I know that is each of these is 2 inches. 5 times 2 is 10. And then across this way is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that is 28 inches, 14 times 2. So we're going to go 28 inches by 10 inches. So I'm just going to I've rolled this out, press your fabric, iron your fabric, make sure all your wrinkles and crinkles are out. So I'm now lining up. Can you see my 10-inch mark? If you put your arm up a little bit more, missus, can you see? I'm on that 10-inch mark, and I cut off 10 inches. I have not moved my fabric, okay? I then go over here to my 0 line, and I make sure I've got a nice clean edge to start with. So right now, I've got a 10-inch by 42-inch piece. All I'm doing now is I'm sliding this fabric over, and I'm lining it up with a line on my mat. You don't have to do it this way. I find this the easiest way possible. On every single piece that you do this with, please, please, please make sure you cut off your selvage. then take your selvage and put it in the bag of the fabric you are cutting. Because as you get in this, you can then see fabric 6 has got a little bit of selvage in it. So when you've accidentally got two reds on top of each other, like we do here, I can put that there and know that is fabric 6. Put the selvage in your reusable plastic bags as you go along. It makes your life a lot easier. So that selvage now goes into your number 1 bag. So what I've got here is a piece of fabric that is 10 inches wide by 42. So all I'm going to do now, I'm folding that up just to use a bit of there. So I'm taking this and I'm lining it up on my cutting board. And you can see I've got 10 inches this way. I'm lining it up on the 0 line, taking it all the way along until I get to number 28. Fold it back and check you've got it completely square. And I'm cutting my 28-inch by 10-inch piece. There we go. I will tell you now, because we're cutting all of these, go and press that flat before we put it on. So the only reason I've done a big giant piece here is because it's a lot easier than cutting, what's that, 90 different squares? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's a lot easier. So this is the section up to there. Okay? So that's how we're going to do little cheat methods like this. You are most welcome not to. You're most welcome to do whatever works best for you. What I would say to you then is the little piece that you've got left here, put to one side and we'll cut that in a moment. Now this piece over here, make sure that you're lined up over here. You're lined up on the cutting board here. Now I'm not using a stripology ruler. Anybody who has watched these tutorials will know that I'm doing this with Natasha McCarty on Natasha Makes as well. So you will see I'm doing it with a... are you on my face? Can you see my face?
No, now we're on your face.
Okay, hello. Gillian's new at this. We love her to bits.
Sometimes it's on your face and sometimes it's on your hands. No, never on your tummy.
So I've done this with Natasha McCarty as well, and we use the stripology ruler there. They are fabulous. I love the stripology rulers. I don't personally have one because I find it's easier and quicker for me cutting with a ruler. So I thought we've done the stripology on Natasha. I will now show you how I do it on here. Now, I'm going to only cut fabric number 1 on here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark up where 14 is, and I'm cutting 2 inches. So I cut 2 inches here. But now notice I'm being very careful not to move my fabric. The other way that I do find it a lot easier to do, I cut a lot of fabric at a lot of times. This is a brand new blade. I do suggest you use a brand new blade. And if you're not practiced at rotary cutting, please do not do this. Be careful. Your fingers are very important. So what I've done is I've put my 6-inch ruler to the edge of my seam line, my edge of my line over here, because I know then I'm going to get 3 strips of 2 inches. And I did line it up with my mat, not my fabric, before anybody has a panic. Don't worry. Okay, so there was only a tiny little slither at the beginning to get rid of. So now I've cut there, and I'll line my 4-inch line up here. And I cut on my 4-inch line. Okay, now I'm moving this over because I'm going to show you another trick in a minute, because you may prefer the other trick. Now this is a 6-inch ruler, so all I'm doing is I'm moving this down, lining up my fabric with the sides of the ruler, and also the fold with the side of my ruler there. I'm getting that ready, and I just trim off my selvage. Now the reason I do that is, and I want you to get into the habit of doing it, is there's nothing worse than when you've done a project like this, and boom, all of a sudden, you've forgotten to take the selvage off, and there's a bit of selvage in your quilt. That is also annoying. Now all you're doing is you're lining this up again with your cutting board. I like to start at the bottom, check that my lines are right there, my lines are right there, then the ones above it, lines are right, lines are right. So I've got 3 lots here, and there's 1 piece on top of the other. What I also do is sometimes, this is cumbersome, it's a pain, can't be bothered. I've got a 6.5-inch ruler as well. Now, be careful with a 6.5-inch ruler because every single one of us have done it where we've gone and cut and it's now a rectangle because it's 2.5 by 2. Make sure you've got it on the right corner. The way to check it is it's always 1 and 1 because in the middle is 0. So what I do here, why are you giggling over there, Mrs.?
Because I've done it myself.
We've all done it. So if you can go up a little bit to get that ruler, raise your hand in the air, come a little closer to me if you can.
And do my quilt. Yeah.
So what I've done is I put my 6-inch ruler there, line everything up. Now the reason is you've got your ruler supported by, you've got your fabric all supported by that ruler, and then you move it down to 4 inches, and then you move it down to 2 inches. Now for me, that is the way I cut them if I'm doing small sections like that. Boom.
That's amazing.
Lots. And
That's
again,
so
I
clever.
do find it easier doing it in multiples, especially when you're a little daunted by the 1,164 squares. Even if you have made the decision that you're going to do big chunks, you still do have a lot of fabric to cut out. So just take it easy, put some nice music on. I normally have my Spotify going in the background, and it's a nice way of being able to just calmly cut slowly, efficiently, and just take your time. And most importantly, be safe. Now over here, these are a little over 3 inches, this last cut that I'm doing. Thank you, Gillian. You can zoom in, you know.
I know.
So all I've done there is I've got these little bits here. You're welcome to then go and press these open and cut more out of them. I'm not going to do that in the tutorial because I think you've got more interesting things you'd like to see. I might be wrong. Now, if you're very brave and you've done this a lot, lay these on top of each other. Now remember, I've got a brand new blade. I've done this a lot. Don't feel the pressure to go and do multiples at one time. There's no need to. You can just take that extra step and do it on your own. I feel confident doing it because I've done it a lot. Lining my 4 up. There we go. And then I line my 2 up. And honestly, just take your time with it. And what I love about this is that, yes, there's a lot to cut out, but you don't have to do it all in one go. That's going to be more than enough for our block 1 with this. This is going to be more than enough. And if it's not, you just take your time and just get it done slowly, slowly, slowly. Now, the other way I like to do this, and I might not have quite enough fabric to do it, it's pretty much the same essence of what I've just shown you, is I will take a 6-inch piece here because I've got my 6-inch ruler. Okay, take my ruler, cut another 6-inch piece. Okay, now this isn't quite 6 inches, so if I do cut anything here, I'm going to make sure this is on the top because it's likely that I'm going to get it mixed up if I don't. So that's only 4 inches. Okay, now I've squared that to I've cut this to 6 inches, 6 inches, and 4 inches with the fabric. Get into the habit. Make sure you cut your selvage edge off now, because if you do it now, it's done. Okay, selvage edge gone. So all you do next is, this is a 6-inch. Line your 6-inch this way. Now you don't have to turn the fabric. If you've got a large enough table, all you do is you cut this way, and then you go and stand on this side of the table, and then you cut this way. So where Gillian is standing right now is normally where I would position my mat, because I would then cut one way from this side of the table. Can you show people what I mean? So normally, I'd be standing here, and I would cut this way, and then I would go and stand where Gillian was, leave the fabric on the table, and cut it this way. But obviously, I'm lucky I've got a big space to sew in. A lot of people don't always have that, and that's okay. I've just missed a step. Poop. I wasn't concentrating, sorry. So what you do now, sorry, I put these on top of each other too soon and turned them too soon. So all I've done is I've lined up my edge here perfectly. So I know it's 6 inches at the bottom, 6 inches in the middle, and 4 inches on the top. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my ruler on the edge over here, and I'm going to cut across my 4-inch line. There we go. And then I move this down to my 2-inch line. Now remember, I have got a brand new blade on this, and I cut a lot So you must do what works for you.
And don't forget to walk your hands.
And equally, this is only open when you're cutting. If I see you like that on the side at my face, you owe a £5 to Cancer Research. I've had 3 clients drop these on their toes, literally take the top of their finger off on the thing. These are phenomenally sharp. This is only open when you're on the thing. You'll notice when I cut, the second my hand comes up, the blade is already locked beforehand. And Gillian taking the camera may or may not tell you a story of how I banged a frying pan in her ear until she got that right. Would I do that to you, Gillian?
Of course you would.
Of course I would. And again, this is just so simple, so relaxing. And you literally just lay everything on top of each other. It takes a bit of time to make sure it's all on top. But I take my small 6-inch ruler, make sure I'm lined up there, make sure I'm lined up there, make sure I'm lined up here, and then the middle sections are all lined up. And boom.
6.
So this is the main colour that we're going to be using. It's the background colour called Peacock. So you're going to be cutting a lot more of this than you would with everything else. So just take your time with it, do it as you go. The other ones are a little easier. There are 45 other colours aside from the Peacock. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to show you what the easiest way I have found to cut the balance of these pieces. And you can decide if that works for you. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, then you can probably let me know which way you found was easier, because I'm probably going to be making multiples of this quilt because I love it. And that way then if you find a quicker way of doing it, please let me know, and then I can do an additional video and teach people the ways that you found, or share the ways that you found, because I think it's always good that we as quilters share our knowledge in order to make sure everybody is doing the best that they can. Now, one thing about these little pieces, if they are not 2-inch squares, do not put them in the same box as the 2-inch squares. It's very easy to
Those
pick
are
a
the folded
1.5
ones.
inch. It's very easy to pick a 1.5 inch up and get it confused, and then you can't figure out why it's not on the quilter's grid. Now, I've been waffling away for ages there with you, but in that short space of time, I think you will agree
That's a shed load of little
that
blue
is
squares.
quite a lot of
Little
squares.
blue squares.
And we've already cut the piece for the giant bit at the top.
Yes.
Okay, so that is just something to bear in mind. That is what we've done there. Now, I'm just keeping them there because we're about to use them. Now, when you get to the smaller pieces, I have one of these. Okay, I use this for my crochet when I'm doing mosaic crochet. They're about £25. You can buy them on Amazon. I don't stock them myself, but what I find really helpful, can you zoom in if possible, ma'am, is this blue lines on either side. You can move this down as you're going along to see which one you're on. So if you're going to do these in order, this is a fantastic way of doing it, because all you'll do is you'll write the Tilda Peacock number 1. I've got to cut 1,164. I need 59 width of fabric strips. Once you've cut them all, you then move it down. I need to cut 19 of fabric number 2. It's 1 width of fabric, and you're going to cut 19 of them. So what's really handy with this is that you can just move your piece down as you go. Now, this is a grid that is included in the kit that I've given to anybody who's bought the packet from myself. What I've done is I included this. I am going to be amending this, and what I'm going to be doing here is working out how many width of fabric strips that you've got. The reason I say that is because you know you only need 1 width of fabric to make 19 squares. 5 squares, you only need 1 width of fabric. 18. When you get to 21, you need 2 width of fabric strips. So it just makes it easier, because when you've got 4, you can then do them together. So my suggestion to you is, first of all, when you get your kit, it's going to come to you sort of like this. Is my face anywhere in that?
It will be now.
Okay, so your kit will come to you sort of like this, and it should be in number order. This is number order from the back, so you can see 46, 45, 44, 43, 42. And every single one of them is in a resealable bag, because I thought it was really important that you had a bag that you can put everything in. We've taken the time to number them. Where I've called it fabric 46, if you want to know what fabric 46 is, you turn to page 5 in your pattern. You go, it's page 2 of your pattern. Page 3 of your pattern. We'll get there eventually. It is page 2, sorry. So when you want fabric 46, it's 6 inches, that's solid charcoal, and that's the code. So what I've done is I've numbered them all according to the fabric number there. I thought it would get a bit confusing putting these onto the sheet by fabric 47 is actually, fabric 46 is actually number 47. I thought that would just confuse people.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I've done fabric 46, you need to cut X number of squares. This is how I've done it that way. So that may work for you or not, but then you've got in here, just now that I haven't got them on there, just write down how many width of fabric strips you need. It just makes your life that little bit easier when you come to cut them. Okay, so now we're at the point of cutting these. That's helpful. Stay. There we go. Now we're at the point of cutting these. You're going to go and you've now pressed fabric number 2. And remember, I said to you, make sure you cut your selvage off. Now, some fabrics are not wound on perfectly square. So what you need to do is cut your selvage off and make sure you get all the selvage. Put your selvage in the bag. It's really important. You will get these mixed up. Even Gillian is laughing into the screen going, I know what you mean. So now you know fabric number 2, that's fabric number 2. So when I put this down on the cutting board...
It should be flat on the fold.
Say what now?
It should be flat from the fold. It's equal from the fold to the end.
I don't know what you mean.
It's flat, it's not uneven. Don't worry, carry on.
I don't know what you mean, but okay. Sorry. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping the fold at the top. I don't know if that's what you meant. But when you look at this on your board, you'll see this is actually just over 2 inches. It's about 2.5 inches. So what I'm doing is I'm now lining these up. Can you see that between 6 and 8? There's a little bit of space on each side. Okay, that's my fabric number 1. Fabric number 2. My fabric number 3, same thing. Take my ruler, clear the selvages, take my selvages, put my selvages in the bag. Oh, that one's a little aggressive. Okay. The thing I found really good is if you're just doing a few at a time, you can then fold them like that in the reusable bag.
Oh,
that works
clever.
well as well. Okay, so I know I've got to trim that one down, and I know I've got to trim this one down. So you've got 2 choices. You can either, if you're feeling brave, put them on top of each other. I wouldn't do more than 2. Wouldn't do more than 2. And then you line these all up as you go. I would suggest using a ruler to get a clean edge over here, only because then that doesn't waste any fabric here. Just make sure you've got all of the selvage underneath, because, for example, this one, you can tell the bottom selvage is not quite as in line. And it just happens that way. It's not done intentionally to offend, but that is what you do. And remember, selvage in the bag. So I now know, even though I've got 3 colours really close together, I know that when I put these together, when I cut them out, fabric 4, fabric 3, and fabric 2. Okay? Now, I'm going to do these individually, actually, because I think we don't want to rush it and make it more complicated. I would suggest to you to line these up at the same line at the top. Sorry,
on the selvage end.
At the bottom. Okay?
Why at the bottom?
I'll show you now. I'm going to change my cutting mat because most people will have a smaller cutting mat. And I'll show you why now. It does make sense. 90% of us have one of these cutting mats. It's usually round about 22 by 18 inches, 24 inches. It's around about that. But what works really well with this, especially in this situation, is if you line these up over here on the same line, okay? There is no right or wrong. Just this is what worked for me. Okay? Because Gillian's in the place I would normally be cutting.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry, I'm happy you're filming, thank you. So I'm moving these closer together. So, right This bit here is lined up. All three of them are lined up. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean down this edge over here to get the start of my 2-inch line over here. And then I'm going over here to clean the edge down over here. So now I've got a 2-inch width of fabric strip of fabric number 2. Okay, so that's now cleaned down beautifully. That's 2 inches exactly. If, like me, you have gone a little bit funny over there, I've just noticed there was a little bit out in the end over there. If you're struggling to get it right, you're now on a piece where you now rotate your board rather than your fabric. Okay, there was a tiny slither out on this end. And we're all going to do it. Just take your time. There's no rush.
And don't panic.
And don't. If it isn't working and you're having a moment and you can't get it right, just walk away for a bit.
Make a cup of tea.
Gin and tonic.
Not sure that would
If you
help.
have issues with alcohol, that was said in jest, most obviously. Right.
So you mark that up on the board
On
now
the
to make...
board.
Okay.
Look, there is always a difference between your ruler and your board. There always are, there always have been, and there always will be. There's nothing, they are not that far out. And because we're using the quilter's grid will cover you for a multitude of sins, for a multitude of little things that go wrong. So if you're a little bit out, it's not going to be that affected because the quilter's grid effectively will save a lot of your errors. And we'll see that in video number 4. So I'm now cleaned these up. Okay, so now we've got 3 lots of 2 inches. Okay, I'm now going to push these up next to each other.
Oh, that looks so good.
Lining those up there. I love this running commentary while Jill's here.
Sorry.
Now, many of you will do crumb quilts or string quilts or anything. That's perfect for it. Unfortunately, I don't. I have a little charity that we donate to down the road, so that all goes down to a charity down there. Okay, so all you do now is just very gently make sure that you've lined all of this up, that one up, and that one up. Remember our little 6-inch ruler? You take that. Make sure 1 and 1, that you're not getting the half confused. And we start cutting 6-inch wedges. Okay, remember before I didn't, I cut 6, 4, 4, but I'm going to show you another trick. Okay, so I've got another 6, so that's 3, 6,
12.
9.
True.
I know you had a South African education like I
Don't.
but I don't think your mother would be very pleased. Didn't she teach mathematics as well?
Yeah, she did. 3, 6, 9.
3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 12. Okie dokie. Now remember these little bits you can then pop back in. So if you wanted to do these as your 2-inch pieces, all you do is you don't have to trim it, press it, because the ruler does. As long as you push it from this way, you will be able to get rid of that little curve. And if you do
Line it up.
that, you've then got your little bit left over. So what I would say to you is once you've cut it, if you've got a little bit like that, you know that's not going to be a piece. And all I'm doing now is I'm laying these on top of the fabric where it's going. I would say to you it is much better to press it. I'm just saving time, and by putting my ruler down and smushing it down that way, that just gives me a little bit extra space to do it with. Okay, so my little trick now is, so we've cut 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, and then these are my 2-inch pieces already cut. Okay, so 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. So if you take this and you put the 2-inch line on, okay, so you've got that. So fabric 2, fabric 3, fabric 4. Did you get that little drop, drop, drop in there? Did that work?
No, but we'll catch it on the next one.
Okay, so I've got a 4-inch piece, a 6-inch piece, and a 6-inch piece. Watch this. If I take this and line it up with my 6-inch on the edge there.
Oh, you're going to get clever now.
You do that. Oh, Don't do that, because then everything moves. Poop. So then you pull these out, and I find 4-inch pieces are a lot easier to cut than 2-inch pieces. It's a silly little trick, but I love doing it that way because I just know everything is lined up, and because 6 inches then works easier, so that's all now lined up after my little mistake. You then just take that, you line up your 6 inches on the edge, because I find lining the edges up a lot easier than lining up with fabric. I do that, and then I take off another 2 inches at the beginning. Put those on my bundle, bloop, bloop, bloop. And I take my 6-inch line again, because that way you're lining the outer bit of your fabric, and before you know it, you've cut them all. So that's another way of doing it. And I think that now will show you how best to do this. You have got 2,300 squares to cut in total. Take your time, there is no rush. When you have cut them like this, open your reusable bag and slide them in. Do this at the time, okay, because you don't want to forget. You don't want the wind to come and blow it around, lovely little animals coming along, children accidentally going, "Mummy, what's that?" and pulling everything around. We don't want that. So having it all in the bag as you go makes your life that little bit easier. And then just take your time. I have a little box like this that I put them in, and what I do is as I cut them and I'm finished, I put them in the front, and then I know, and I have them all sealed off. And I just do a little bit by a little bit. If you've got half an hour where you're holding for a phone call, just cut a little bit. You don't need to cut them all in one go. And if you do, go ahead. I managed to do Natasha's cutting for her entire quilt in 1 hour and 48 minutes. I wanted to cry afterwards, but it was all done. So it is possible to do it in a short space of time. It is whatever is easiest for you. Do keep us posted. We're about to do... and I have to thank the team at Natasha Makes for lending me the next blocks. We're about to show you how it is that you actually glue everything down and stitch it. It won't be finished. Gluing everything down and stitching it. That is video 4. And then video 5 and 6 will come in a couple of weeks' time. We've got the Festival of Quilts next week. And then I'm back and got an enormous amount of stuff to do. So it'll be towards the end of August that we will be getting the stitching done. But I think that by the end of the cutting and the gluing down, I think you will be well on your way to doing this quilt, and you don't mind waiting a little bit. So thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good one, and the lovely Gillian is now not going to know how to end this.
No, I don't.
There's a giant big cross in the top left-hand corner. If you click that, it'll say end. You, happy stitching, happy cutting, and please be safe with your rotary cutter. We do not want any injuries. Big hugs, lots of love. Bye!
Bye!